On the night of September 26, 1983, when the Cold War was at one of its most dangerous points, a single man found himself facing a decision that could have ended human civilization as we know it, and that man was Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov, a duty officer stationed at Serpukhov 15, a top-secret Soviet military bunker near Moscow, part of a network of early warning satellites known as OKO, designed to detect incoming American intercontinental ballistic missiles and alert the Kremlin to a first strike in time for a retaliatory response. The world at this time was tense beyond measure. Only a few months earlier, the Soviet Union had shot down Korean Airlines Flight 007, believing it to be a spy plane, increasing suspicion and hostility between the superpowers. NATO was conducting massive military exercises, and both sides were on high alert, ready for a nuclear exchange at the slightest provocation. Petrov, a mid-ranking officer with years of training, was alone in the bunker that night, a man of relatively quiet demeanor, known by his colleagues for his analytical mind and calm under pressure, but also acutely aware of the stakes. He understood that every decision he made, every judgment he executed, could ripple across continents and alter the fate of millions. Suddenly, shortly after midnight, the warning systems lit up with flashing lights and alarms blared across the control room, indicating that one missile had been launched from the United States, followed within minutes by reports of 4 more missiles. The automated systems were designed for speed and efficiency, and Soviet protocol was explicit. Upon detection of a confirmed launch, the officer on duty was to immediately report the strike up the chain of command, which could trigger a full-scale retaliatory nuclear attack, potentially destroying the United States and unleashing a global nuclear holocaust that would almost certainly provoke an instant American response, annihilating the Soviet Union in return. The weight of the moment was unimaginable. In that cold, silent bunker, Petrov realized that the fate of millions of people rested on a decision he alone had to make, under extreme pressure and without any time to consult his superiors. Yet something felt wrong. Petrov instinctively questioned the accuracy of the readings, recalling that a real first strike would likely involve dozens, even hundreds of missiles, not just 5, and that the satellites, being new and untested, were prone to rare optical errors. Trusting his judgment over the system, he made a decision that went against every rule he had been trained to follow. He classified the alerts as a false alarm, deliberately choosing not to report them as an actual missile attack. For tense minutes, Petrov watched and waited, uncertain if he had made the right choice, knowing that a single wrong call could trigger a chain reaction leading to mutual annihilation. As the minutes passed, no missiles were detected by radar, and it became increasingly clear that the alarms were indeed false. The satellites had been misinterpreting the reflection of sunlight off high-altitude clouds, a rare optical anomaly combined with the particular orbits of the early warning satellites, producing a signal indistinguishable from an actual missile launch. Petrov's calm, critical thinking and courage in that moment prevented a nuclear war that could have killed tens or hundreds of millions, reshaping the course of history forever. Yet, despite the incredible magnitude of his action, Petrov was initially reprimanded for not following protocol and never received the recognition or promotion he deserved during his service. It was only decades later, after the fall of the Soviet Union and the declassification of events, that the world learned of his decision, and organizations, governments, and historians began honoring him as the man who saved the world. The story of Stanislav Petrov is not only a tale of technical malfunction and Cold War paranoia, but also a profound reminder that even in a world dominated by machines, algorithms, and rigid military hierarchies, the judgment and humanity of a single individual can determine the fate of millions. Imagine the weight on his shoulders that night. Every alarm, every flashing red light, every command written into the manual screaming at him to follow orders, and yet he trusted reason over panic, calm over fear, intuition over technology. If he had obeyed the automatic instructions, nuclear missiles would have launched across the Atlantic within minutes, likely triggering retaliation from the United States, a full-scale nuclear exchange that could have rendered much of the planet uninhabitable, left entire continents in radioactive ruin, and ended countless lives in an instant. Petrov's story also reminds us how close the world came to catastrophe during the Cold War, when tensions, miscommunications, and imperfect technology created situations where a single error or a single correct decision could tip the balance between survival and global annihilation. Beyond the immediate event, his experience highlights the enormous human responsibility embedded in military systems, the thin line separating life and death, and the importance of critical thinking under pressure. Today, Petrov is remembered not just as a soldier or officer, but as a symbol of moral courage, foresight, and the extraordinary power of human judgment, showing that sometimes history turns not on massive armies or fleets, but on the decisions of one person who dares to act differently when the stakes are unimaginably high. His quiet heroism stands in stark contrast to the tension, fear, and paranoia that characterized the world in 1983, offering a powerful lesson about responsibility, ethics, and the value of human conscience in an age dominated by technology and rigid orders, and reminding us that even in the darkest hours, a single individual's courage can alter the course of history forever. In the broader context of 1983, Petrov's decision occurred amid an escalating global arms race, where mistrust between the superpowers meant that a single false alarm could have set off an irreversible chain reaction, demonstrating how fragile human civilization can be when technology amplifies fear and uncertainty. His story is not only a testament to bravery, but also a stark warning about relying too heavily on machines in matters of life and death, and it continues to inspire leaders, historians, and ordinary people alike, reminding us that the power to save or destroy millions can sometimes rest in the hands of one seemingly ordinary individual who chooses to trust judgment, reason, and conscience over blind obedience. Even more, Petrov's life before and after that night highlights the ordinary human behind extraordinary historical events. He was not a decorated war hero nor a public figure, but a man who simply followed his instincts, a moral compass in a moment when the world held its breath, a moment in which history itself could have been rewritten in fire and smoke, demonstrating that courage does not always roar. Sometimes it is the quiet, steadfast decision to act rightly when all eyes are on danger that changes the fate of nations and saves humanity itself.